Hey, this is Chris at Art Secret Studio, and we're talking about protect your transparent colors. And what does that mean? Because if it was really that simple, I wouldn't stop the class to talk about it. And if it was that simple, the class wouldn't stop and be listening. And there's nobody not listening right now. Did that come out? Nobody. Everyone is here. Okay, so what does it mean by transparent color? I've already started. I'm starting over so you can be part of this conversation. If I take my alizarin, which is a transparent color, it makes this beautiful, rich color, and you have to protect that. Because when I put this alizarin, it's on this one. If I put this alizarin over the gray here, it's not quite as beautiful. It's still pretty, but there's an intensity level. So the tone of the canvas dropped the intensity. So then if I take another transparent color and I put it down, and then mix it, these are both still transparent colors, and the light goes through them. Then when I take my opaque colors, and your tubes of paint are marked, Winsor Newton puts a square in the back of it, and that little square, if it's white, it's transparent. If it has a line through it, it's semi-transparent. If it's black, it's opaque. So they do tell you this. Oops, doesn't go there. So if I take my opaque colors, anything with white in it, and I go over it, I've now lost the vibrancy of that pink. That pink's never going to be as pretty. And you can see the difference between opaque pink and transparent pink. Protect your transparency. Okay, if that was it, we wouldn't be doing the talk. There are times my transparent colors are not pretty. I still want to protect them. And that's why we're having the talk. So keeping a color beautiful is only one definition of a transparent color and protecting it. You see, there's a depth to your painting that when you have, so I'm going to go ahead and take a red and green, and I'll make a blackish kind of brown color. And I put it down. Those are all transparent colors, especially when I vary my thickness and I have it thicker and thin. That whole area is transparent. What I have fell in love with, and it happened first from seeing the Van Gogh painting at the LA County Museum, when you put paint down and then it dries, and then you glaze over it, you have 2 layers of paint. And then it dries and you glaze another layer, and there's 3 layers of paint. And then you paint over that, there's 4, and you leave some of the glaze, and then another, and then you glaze. And if you never sell a painting and you have 40 layers of paint, there's a richness and a depth to those colors. But if you overpaint the whole area, it all becomes one layer, and you don't have this building up of a surface where you have thicker and thin and thick and thin, and you have these brush strokes of textures. That's the other transparent color. So we have learned some of the top portrait or landscape artists in the world. Well, let me go ahead and say that sentence. I started to say portrait. It was very common before 1860 to have all your shadow colors from transparent colors. And all your whites would be opaque and thick. Thank you, Rembrandt. Thank you, Vermeer, even though it was prior to that. Your whites were always thick and got thicker and thicker. I believe the French Academy had this thought. Transparent color. Now it's coming out of the shadow, and it's a mix of transparent and opaque. So we're going to call that semi-transparent. You would use opaque color with oleo gel. And now there's a transition. And then it starts to have more opaque with less oleo gel. And then the sunny side would be opaque. So you go from opaque to transparent gradually, and it makes a beautiful turn. Rembrandt shows us with 10 or 20 brushstrokes and layers of glaze, the more you glaze of transparent color, the deeper and richer it moves in space, especially if you don't use bright color and you're using grays or colors that aren't as pretty. More layers go through the light, and it's being trapped, and it gives this illusion of depth, especially when you play the thick paint against it. A lot of times, though, when you guys are painting, almost always, we've watched some of the top landscape painters in the world, and they don't say it, but I'm sensing they're doing this, that when you're putting your shadow colors in a landscape, quite often they're using transparent colors. It's raw umber, it's viridian, it's, things in it. And there's a beauty to the transparent layer and protect your transparent color. Okay, but it goes back to the first time. You protect the transparent color when you want it to be beautiful. Okay, but how many places in the painting can be beautiful? Michael? No, just a couple. I'm teasing her. Just a few places. Not everything can be beautiful. So eventually, you're going to start to destroy some of your transparent color. And one way of doing that would be to start scumbling over it, and you see through it, but not all of it. So maybe you start a priority line. See, there's no right answer here. Okay, I love the transparent color. There's a depth to it. But there has to be places where you just can't say, I got to save everything. Good luck being the second grade teacher of the drama department with Little Red Riding Hood. I mean, someone's kid's going to have to be the tree. And you're going to have everyone show up in Little Red Riding Hood's outfit? No, the painting's the same way. Something's got to go, and you're going to have to choose. So there are places where I want to leave even though it's black, transparent colors, I can't scumble over it because it's wet. But you might want to, I did scumble over it. So you might want to drag over some of it. And then eventually you might just want to start painting over some of it. So there's always a priority list, a checking order, Yeah, sometimes I protect my transparent color. Sometimes it's because it's so beautiful, I only get one chance, because once I add white to it, it's like ugly. And there's no fixing that. You're done, bud. It's toast. So in the drawing program, if you don't put the right value 6 in the right spot, well, when you're painting and that value 12 alizarin, you better know where 12 goes. I'm looking at you. You better know where 12 goes and what value it is, because it's a transparent color and you get one chance. Put that color in the right spot. Buying into the drawing program is crucial. I'm looking at whatever the girl in the end's name is doing the drawing there, and I'm saying, wow, her drawing and touch is beautiful. And she doesn't need to do the pair exercise. But her buying into what's a 4, what's an 8, what's a 12, and where it goes is more important than me saying, you don't need to do this drawing. You need to own the concept. Now, for other people, you're doing the pair exercise because your touch isn't there. So we're all doing these exercises, but in my mind, you're working on something different. Does that make sense? It's like me when I start physical therapy, and I've had back surgery, my wrist now. I've had 5 knee surgeries. None of the muscles are working in my legs, my knees, my back. I mean, where do you start? She had me lying down, flexing my stomach muscles, hoping that one day we'd find one. Okay, same thing. We're all in a different place. Does this make sense about your transparent colors? There's a depth to a transparent color, even if it's black, even if it's raw umber, especially when it's layered in between and around other opaques. There's a beauty to it. There's a depth to layering the glazes of transparent colors that creates a depth, especially when you put thick paint to make it come forward. There's a beauty to the viridians, the sap greens, the manganese blues, the ultramarine blues, and an intensity. And I'm using the word beauty 3 different ways, because I've fallen in love with the appreciation of a craft. And I want to look at a painting from a foot away, not 30 feet away. And that's what I'm hoping you start to fall in love with art and the making of art more than the making of the picture. You know, the result, look what I painted. Because you're all at a different level now. You know, you're getting to the point where in a short time you're going to get bored with making it look good. Trust me, it will happen. And then what's next? And I hope it starts a lifelong journey of an appreciation of a craft. And that's why the art history class is so important. If you see where it came from and where they went and can I use that or not, or I'll save that for another day, I think that makes it fun for me. I don't know why I'm the only one excited over you learning. This is the funniest thing. Canada. And there's all these rocks and these mountains. Those are rocks and mountains, okay? And then there's these dark trees right here. Those are trees. And there's a little snow in it. And we were talking about this area being so still. That watch putting these transparent colors in. In fact, she did a study where she put in the transparent color and was too busy. It was too beautiful. They were just darks and it was beautiful. How bizarre was that? Okay, so she said, okay, I may put some of them, but not, or I don't know how she dealt with that issue. What did you do? You just started taking away and removing because she had to quiet it down. Okay, so, but the whole transparent color now, the reason we love this picture of Mount Moraine, is it Moraine? Okay, is because at the bottom, the transparent green water was stunning. And typically, I have this attitude, I only get one chance with that transparent color. So a lot of times I put it in first. But in Lori's case, there was a calmness to the scene that had to be discovered or established before the green went in. And she had to know, don't paint where the green's going. Because if she gets all these other colors in here, she'll lose that intensity. So she had to put duct tape in that area. It wasn't really duct tape, was it? But it was close. And she put little notes, don't paint here. And she had to protect her transparent color. So sometimes I put it in first, and other times I put it in my head first, but don't put it in on the canvas. I have to know where I'm going to use that. Oh, this is a 12, and it's raw umber, but I can't put it in right now. So I'm going to protect that and not paint there. And I know what value and what colors go in there. She's on her iPhone. You running your business? Okay. Does that make sense? So you do have to plan these colors out when it's an issue and when it's not. And if that's too much, I should have done this before I put the white in. And then I take my green and I put my green in. But I already lost the beauty of the green because I have already put paint down. And if it dries, it's worse. That day you can get away with a little more, but it dropped a notch. So when I paint something and I say, okay, this is transparent, and I put the green in, and then I said, oh, I'll use a Viridian, and I put that in. That's all the same day. That's still intense, unless you add something red that makes it gray. It's not till it dries and you do a second coat does it really drop a notch. Does that make sense? So if I was to do brown, burnt sienna, and I put the brown in, maybe I did it real thin and then decided I need to go thicker. That's all the same day. But if I was to go lighter and then let it dry and did it another day over the top, it wouldn't be as pretty as day one. It has to do with, you've now made a second layer. It's layers of paint, and the light going through it is being absorbed and not coming back fully to the eye. It's the law of subtraction. It's how physics works. So I've always even wondered, okay, well, does that mean I put it down and then I don't even glaze over that spot? Because once I glaze over it, I made a second layer and I lowered the intensity, but the color gets sunk in. And if I don't glaze or oil out, then I don't know how bright that is and I can't relate everything else to it. So is there a starting point where you already have to have one coat of oil out over that or glaze to bring back the luster on day two? Does that make sense? Gosh, I was this close to a 3-minute talk, Michael. Yeah, 3 is not realistic. Okay, so I answered your questions. Did I make more confusion or you get it?
What was the question?
Was there a question? Oh no, I'm ADD, there's no question.
So the question was, on my painting, I have transparent in the shadows going back on the boat. Yeah. And Chris said all of your darks are the same, you need to vary them. The only way to vary them, because they're so dark, is with opaque paint. But then I'm going to lose my transparency. Right. So then I was like, you've drilled into me, don't lose your transparency. So how do I vary the color on this black boat without losing my transparency? And he's saying, it's not an important boat, don't worry about it.
The color yellow is the star.
Right, so drop.
And yellow isn't transparent.
So you don't have to keep that one beautiful. You know what I'm saying? You can leave a touch of it in there for the depth, but it's okay to ruin your transparency or leave just touches of it coming through, right?
So because I've gone over my 4-minute thing, if I didn't have the DNA of Relationships book embedded in my brain about telling your story, I wouldn't know which transparent to protect. I wouldn't know which way to use it. I wouldn't know what color theory, what halftone, what no tan, what edges to lose and what edges to find. I have to know my story and why this picture is important to me. That is paramount. I got paint on me. There. Okay, I'm done.